How do you get the most out of Proz.com? Coming up. Hello and welcome back to the Freelanceverse. I hope you're all doing well. Thanks so much for coming back to the channel. Today we have another guest on, a very special guest, someone from Proz.com. Paul Urwin, he's their head of training at Proz.com, and he graciously agreed to come on the channel. Thank you very much. Proz.com is the biggest and most important website for translators. I say it all the time on my channel. So I thought it's really important to get someone on from inside the organization that can give us inside scoops, hopefully, about the inner workings of the platform. I hope you enjoyed the interview. Take care. So we are joined today by Paul Urwin. Thank you very much for taking the time to come on the channel. Would you like to say a few words about yourself, introduce yourself? What is it you're doing?
Yeah, thanks very much, Adrian. Fantastic to be here. I'm head of training at Proz.com. So I create a lot of content myself, and I also talk with a lot of trainers and really about sharing their content, about sharing their courses and workshops. And our mission is to help freelance translators and interpreters succeed.
It's amazing. Yeah, I made one video about Proz. We talked about it before as well, and it got really good reception in the community, but everyone was still still asking me all the time questions in the comments about the website. They say, this video is nice. I mean, you tell us we should use it, but how do you actually use that? So that's why we came together today, and I wanted to make this video with someone from inside the organization. So let's just really take it back to the basics. Imagine someone wants to become a translator or just started, is establishing themselves, and they hear from everyone that you have to be on Proz. Everyone says you have to be on there.
Yeah.
They open the website. What is it they can do? What is it they can expect? What would you say are the first steps?
I think, as you mentioned, Adrian, everyone does need to be on Proz, or to put it another way, it makes sense to be on Proz. It makes sense to be on Proz because you can have a free profile before we get into talking about membership or something like that. So you can have a completely free profile, and that probably is one of the first things that you should do when you go to the website, because Proz.com is a website that has been around now for over 20 years. Okay, so it's got a huge amount of content, millions and millions of pages. And it also has a very good positioning, a very good Google ranking. So when you create and update a profile on Proz.com, that is then going to feed into Google search results, which I think is something that people don't always take into account. So I think that would be the first thing I would recommend people do, is head on over to the site and create a profile.
Okay, nice. And are there any specific things you would pay attention to when you create a profile? Are there do's and don'ts regards to your profile?
Definitely, Adrian. I think a lot of people don't put enough into a Proz.com profile, just as they don't always put enough into a LinkedIn profile or anything else. The fact is, the more you put into something, the more you're going to get out of it. So if you head on over to Proz.com and create a profile where you don't have a photo and you don't really include enough details about yourself and you don't fill in the sections, it's not really going to work for you. And then it might be very easy to say, well, Proz.com, it doesn't work. I created a profile and nothing happened. If you're going to do it, you really should make every effort to complete it. And we actually have a little profile completion bar there, which will give you the percentage that your profile has been updated. So it's very easy to do. You should definitely add a photo. Another recommendation I would give is to focus on your client. So when you are marketing yourself as a translator or as an interpreter, I think the tendency is to say, well, I've got a master's degree in translation and I have a diploma in technical translation and I have 17 years as a translator. And all of those things are valuable and relevant, but actually, how is that relevant to a client? What can you help a client to do? Is that a translation agency client or direct client? So I think position it from, the point of view of the client a little bit, include all of those qualifications and everything as well. I'm not saying don't include them, but position it towards your client. So fill in all of the sections. Think about keywords. Proz.com, as I've just mentioned, is these pages are going to be crawled by Google. They're going to appear on Google search results. So you need to have those keywords in there.
Yeah, really good point. Especially what you said about
think about your clients as well, because I get a lot of comments from people saying, I don't have any experience. I just have a bachelor's, and how can I fill a whole profile with that? But that's exactly what you mentioned, right? You can also think what the customers wants from you. It's not only about your accreditation and your qualifications.
Totally. Yeah. Provide solutions to clients. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So when you're at that point, when you have your profile completely filled out, progression bar 100%, what's the next step? How do you find jobs? Is there any secret tips that you have for the viewers?
Well, there's a couple of things that are important about jobs. So I think the first thing is that you can apply to or reply to job postings on the site. So there are lots of job postings every single day. And if you are a member, then you get immediate access to those job postings. So that's one of the advantages of being a member. So you certainly can apply and should apply or reply to those job postings, obviously filtering them out and applying to the ones that are most relevant. I think some people have this unfortunately, this scattergun approach where I'm going to apply to everything, and then, I've applied to 27 different jobs and I didn't get everything. I think you get anything. Sorry. I think you need to choose carefully how you apply to those jobs. However, most of the work that goes through the site comes from direct contact from agencies or direct clients. In other words, they are finding people via their profile. So it goes back to having the profile completely up to date and relevant, and not having too many things in there either. For example, when it comes to areas of specialization, and I'm sure you've heard this before, Adrian, it makes sense to have a few areas of specialization. It makes you stand out as an expert in a particular niche. But someone who has 34 areas of specialization is unlikely to be perceived as an expert in any of them. So that's one recommendation that I would have. Really focus your text, focus how you complete the bio on the Proz.com profile to include your real areas of specialization, which normally, there's no set limit, but normally we might be talking about 3 different areas. I would actually suggest the main thing is to focus on the relevance of your profile. But I'm completely convinced that the time it takes to create a good Proz.com profile, which is only 2 or 3 hours if you did absolutely everything, maximum, I would say. Yeah. That time I think is well worth it, because again, don't forget that the Proz.com ranking on Google. This is a website that has been around for over 20 years now, and so we do have that in our favor.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think one of my first results is also Proz.com, so that I can definitely co-sign that. And yeah, I also get a lot of direct messages through the website, and then I get an email. So anyways, I need to say, I'm not the best user of Proz, so I'm very much a passive user. So I have it all set up that it just works to my favor, and I get the emails that I need. I get the relevant job postings, and I get the direct messages. And I'm in the fortunate position that I don't need to look for jobs at the moment. So whenever a direct message comes in, I read it, and if it's really relevant, I go for it. You can use it in several different ways, right? You can be at the beginning when you don't have a lot of jobs yet. You can really be on there and complete trainings, answer questions or read questions, etc. Or you can then at a later stage use it maybe a bit more passively as well, right?
Oh, totally. I think a lot of people have gone through that process or that evolution. I think that's completely natural. But I think there's just so many things on the site, and my challenge, if you're watching this, my challenge to you is actually to head on over to Proz.com and explore everything that is on the site, because I think sometimes there's this misunderstanding that, there's some job postings on there, and those job postings didn't work out for me. And so I hope I've cleared that point up a little bit. It really is in terms of your profile and attracting clients. That's perhaps the most important. But the challenge is, if you just head on over to Proz.com and move from left to right across the top menu bar and look at all of the drop downs, there are many things in there. There's obviously the blue board, there's invoicing tool, there's training, there's the KudoZ questions. There's all sorts of things. There's the translation contest, CPN, all kinds of things that happen on the site. And I think sometimes people don't realize that. And I'm sure there is something that is useful for I would argue any translator at any stage of their career will find something useful on the site.
Absolutely, yeah. The Blue Board and the invoicing tool that you mentioned, these two are things that I use so frequently, and it's just perfect. Yeah, it's to the point. It's what the translator needs, and that's it.
Wonderful.
Speaking of tools, I would assume that there are some tools that are only available to paid members, right? How is the site used for a free member or a free user? Yeah. How is it used for a member that's paying, and what are the options there?
Yeah, there's definitely a difference, Adrian. So as a free member, you can create that profile that I've talked about, and the profile, you as a translator or as an interpreter will then appear in the Proz.com directory. So if someone's searching, for example, for French to English translators, there's different filters that can be applied, and they will then be presented with the results of that directory search. So you are in the directory. However, as a member, you will appear above non-members in the directory. So that's one immediate advantage. And that is a massive, massive advantage for many people, because if we're talking about attracting clients, then obviously the higher you are up in the directory, the more likely you are to get contacted about a particular job. So that's a big one. Another one is the Blue Board, which is a place where you can review feedback from LSPs or from translation companies or those that offer interpreting services, and you can see their score, and you can see the comments from different freelancers who have worked with that organization. And for some people, this is something that just pays the membership on its own, because it helps them to avoid to avoid expensive mistakes, right? That's one of the things.
And it can really be trusted. Yeah, as long as you have a couple of reviews on there that say the same thing, I immediately know, okay, I have to be careful, at least if it's not a 4 or above.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think a lot of the time we talk about getting more clients and increasing revenue, but sometimes it's about avoiding mistakes as well. And I think the Blue Board really helps people to avoid making a potentially expensive mistake. So the Blue Board, you get full access to the Blue Board with membership. And a lot of these things, it's really the difference between having full access and limited access. But as a member, you do meet clients at 4 times the rate of non-members. So that's an important statistic. Nice. I think an important number. 4 times.
Especially when you have something maybe in your profile. Like for me, I market myself very heavily that I'm a German translator from Switzerland, so I can attract a lot of people that think they need someone for the Swiss audience. And I guess being having a tagline that is quite unique, and then also being a paid member, I get direct messages very often. So I guess if you have this kind of unique selling point plus the membership, you are very high up on this rank. So absolutely, that's what it's all about. And standard membership, just to mention the prices, it's $120 a year for standard membership. It's $180 for plus membership, which then includes the access to the video library. It includes membership to the translation mastermind community, a Cafe Tran license, and lots of other things that are they're all laid out. If you go to proz.com/membership, it just makes sense to analyze what's available. If you're paying $120 or $180 a year, and that gets you one additional job, normally that's going to be, especially if you look at the lifetime value of that client, that's normally going to pay for membership, I would argue. Yeah, for sure. So, and if not that, then at least you have the community around it and the training that you can use.
But the fact is, it comes back to what you put into the site. Okay, so you can't just pay membership or buy membership and go in and operate with a half completed profile. I don't think that's going to work, or not work very well. But if you pay for membership and really spend some time creating an excellent, attractive profile, answer some KudoZ questions, find your way around the site, find out what's going to work for you, then I think it's very difficult not to have some kind of positive result.
You mentioned KudoZ questions. Can you elaborate a bit on that? What is that?
Yeah, so KudoZ questions is simply where someone can ask a question within a particular area of specialization, or within a particular language pair, and members of the community will help to answer that question. So there's a huge amount of content on the site of people asking and answering those questions. It's just become a directory that is extremely useful for translators. And I'm sure most translators will have seen this when they search for a term on Google. Many times it will refer them to a section of the Proz.com website which has those questions and answers. So that's a really nice and powerful community feature on the site. And in terms of ranking as well, the more you contribute to the site, that in terms of answering questions, that also helps you to move up in the directory ranking as well. So membership and KudoZ, right? You can gain points by answering questions.
Speaking of community, what else is there that Proz offers to paid members or free members? I'm not sure. In terms of network building, in terms of community, I know that there are meetups. I've attended a few as well, online meetups. And also, I guess in terms of training, there is options to collaborate and meet other people as well.
Yeah, quite a lot of different things going on. So as a Plus member, you get free entry to the Translation Mastermind community. That's a Facebook community run by Andrew Morris. It's a fantastic place for tuning in and seeing what these experienced translators are saying and asking questions, or just following the threads. So that's one really good option. Another option is that you can create teams within Proz.com, so teams based around a certain topic or a certain language pair, and then you can invite translators to join that team and create kind of a mini community. We have the forum on the Proz.com website, so lots of activity on the forum. Again, a place where you can ask questions and participate, or just really enjoy the content. We also have Andrew Morris's other Facebook group. Andrew's a busy guy, and that is the Proz.com Translators and Interpreters Facebook group that has around 50,000 members. And then, of course, Adrian, you mentioned training. Well, that's my area. We've been working very hard over the last.
You have a lot to say about that, I assume.
Yeah. Well, I'll try and keep it short, but yeah, we've been working a lot on that area over the last couple of years, which we're trying to offer courses and workshops that are interactive, that cover the topics that people are looking for. So we have self-paced courses, we have the live workshops, and we've really teamed up with some fantastic trainers from the industry, from Tess Whitty to Corinne McKay to Nina Sattler-Hovda, Jason Willis-Lee, to just a whole range, Bettina Röhricht, just fantastic trainers who are Karen Kachik, the list goes on, but they're just fantastic trainers in their area. It's not about training for training's sake. It's about helping people get from A to B. So there's something that you can't do today that you would like to be able to do. And by taking this course, it's going to help you get there. And not only is it going to help you get from A to B, but when you actually get to B, you're going to be more attractive to a potential employer, or you're going to be able to get more work. That also includes quizzes. It also includes assignments. So, because what we want to avoid, Adrian, is that situation where you're watching a video, you watch a video, that's it. Nothing else happens. There's no assignment, There's no interaction. You don't get any feedback. You can't ask any questions. You've got to go and find someone else to ask a question. So we want to avoid that and give people the opportunity to ask questions to the trainer. So we have group coaching sessions, etc. So it's not just watching videos, but there is that difference between workshops on the one hand and self-paced courses on the other.
Most of us work alone all the time, right? So when you have trainings and you can do it in a group and in a live workshop, it adds another value addition. And Proz definitely helped me in the beginning to reach out to people as well, not only to clients, but also in the industry. And that's how I found this Facebook group that you mentioned, but also another one, you might find something that has nothing to do with Proz, but just through Proz, because everyone is on there, right? So that's another added benefit, I think.
Totally.
You can even just look for translators in your language pair and just reach out to them and just have a chat with them, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So that's the challenge. You know, if anyone thinks that this doesn't work for them, I think if you explore the site, I'm convinced you will find something.
Do you have anything else to add to a newbie that thinks, okay, tomorrow I'm going to open the website and I'm going to follow Paul's lead and just explore everything? Any kind of advice for aspiring translators to make it in the industry?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I would say just block some time in your diary, whether it's, half an hour would be a good place to start. Just block half an hour in your diary and say, I'm going to type in Proz.com and I'm going to explore that website. And I'd be more than happy to help you. If you have any questions, you can contact me, training@Proz.com. So, I mean, and that's something else we try and do. We try and encourage people to contact us and talk to us and ask questions. And so, yeah, just set some time aside to explore the site. And after that half an hour, if you have any questions, let me know. And at that point, you might be ready to move on to something else. You might find something on the site that you want to explore in more detail. I hope so.
Sounds great. And I can definitely confirm that Proz is very interactive. I made this video last time and I had 3 different people from Proz reach out to me because of the video. So they are definitely willing to get in touch with all of you viewers out there. So I'm going to put all the links that we mentioned down below, of course. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this video was valuable to you and I see you next week with the next one. Bye-bye.